What up, peeps? What up? What up? What up? Hope you all are having a great start to 2021. Like I said in my last video, the month of January is going to be about financial preparedness. So, in my last video, I talked about the $10,000 money hack. Once again, if this is something that you want or you want to get a copy of this, just hit me up in the comments below and I will make sure that I email a copy of this over to you. But for today's session or today's video, it is about, are you ready for a home? Financially, of course, because financial preparedness. So when I created the $10,000 money hack, the $10,000 wasn't just some random number that I came up with, like, what's a good number for people to save? Let's come up with $10,000. No, the $10,000 was actually intentional, because if you save $10,000, roughly, you're pretty much on a good track to get a first home, and that's typically a starter home, and it also depends on your budget too. But $10,000 is a nice starting point. Because when it is time, or when you decide that you're ready for a home, there's costs that you have to consider that may not necessarily be clearly outlined to you in the beginning. So we all love HGTV and it seems all perfect. Like, you go find these houses and you pick a house and then you go through the lending process and boom, you got a house, right? No, it is actually a little bit more to it than that. So the first thing that you're going to want to think about is your down payment. Okay, this is probably one of the most important. I'm not going to say it's the most important, but it's definitely probably one of the most important costs that you're going to have. So your down payment cost is actually your percentage that you're putting down towards the home. So right now you'll see loans where you may only need to put 3% or 3.5% down. Before, back in the day, like my grandparents' generation, it was always 20%. There's a reason for the 20%. So if you come to the table to your lender with less than 20%, you will be subject to PMI insurance. PMI stands for private mortgage insurance. That is the lender's way of insuring the loan, because you did not put 20% towards it. So it's kind of like you only got so much skin in the game. Okay, you only got 3% in this game versus a solid 20%, because when you put 20%, it's just showing that you have a little bit more invested. So at 3%, the lender wants to ensure that if you lose your job, if something happens, you are able to pay that loan, or they're going to recoup their funds for that loan. So the PMI insurance is something you pay for to insure your loan for your lender. Okay? So depending on what you come to the table with, that is a cost that will be absorbed into your monthly mortgage payment. Now, once you get to 20% vested, so you came in with 3% in the game. Then you came up and added your other 17%. And now you have a solid 20 vested into your home, that you've paid off 20% of your home. Well, you're still going to pay that PMI insurance. Okay, it does not disappear at 20%. That is a misconception that it will disappear. It will not. Okay, you're going to have to be a little bit more vested, and you can confirm that with your lender if you're coming to the table with less than 20%. So in considering your down payment, let's talk about gift money. You may get a gift from someone else, and online, like, you will see people say you can get a gift, and your dad or your lender may say, your dad can give you $2,000, or yeah, it's okay if your mother gives you $5,000 down, because they may already have it saved up. They just want to help you out, whatever the case may be. However, depending on your lender and your lending guidelines for your particular loan, because every loan is different for every person. Depending on what the category you fall into, you may be told that only X amount of your money can come from a gift. That can be based on your credit. It can be based on the cost of the home, different factors, but that is determined by your lender. So if you are getting a gift, you need to check with your lender if there is a limit to the amount of gift money that you can receive. And then also prepare the person that's giving you the gift that they're going to need to give you some documentation. Okay? Essentially, the lender wants to make sure that the money that you're getting from this home is coming from legitimate funds. One of the causes of the housing crash back in 2007 was because of the fact that people had homes that they could not afford. People had homes that they were really not financially qualified to have. And that could have been they got the money from somebody, got a gift, and that money is not really your money. So the logic I've told people is, you're asking for a lot of money, okay? You have relatives that will ask you for $50, and you need to know everything about that $50 when you're going to get it back, everything else. So imagine asking for a couple of $1,000s from somebody. They want to know where they're getting their money back from. They want to know that this is not money under your mattress, that you didn't have that because you have some other extracurricular activity. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So know where that money can come from. The other thing to think about in terms of down payment is down payment assistance. Yes, there are programs that offer down payment assistance. Some of those programs are grants, and some of them are secondary loans. And what I mean is it's a second mortgage on your loan, which means another monthly payment. That's all fine and dandy if you don't have a lot of debt and your debt to income ratio isn't impacted by that. And I'll do another video on debt to income ratio because that's a whole nother ball of wax for people to process. So considering what you may have to pay monthly, down payment assistance may not be your best bet. I have seen where down payment assistance people don't qualify for because it raises their debt to income ratio a little too high. So keep that in mind as well. The other thing that you're going to need money for are your inspections. There are things that have to be taken care of prior to you actually getting the keys to your new home. Okay? You're going to have an inspector come out and look at the home. Now, is something you can pass on? Most definitely. It's your house. You can do whatever the hell you want. Is it something that I would recommend that you not pass on? Most definitely. If you're buying a home, you should get an inspection the inspection will give you a synopsis of what is going on with the home. Now, the inspector can't say, oh, your water heater is going to go out in 3 years, or, hey, this crack in this foundation, your basement going to start leaking in about a year. They can't tell you that. But what they can tell you, if something looks wrong, okay? If something might need to be fixed. Because if they can give you that information, you can use that to negotiate your deal further. And depending on what the repair or the inspection tells, it may either be you got to go to the table and we got to kind of come to a new agreement on these repairs, or you may want to back out. And if you back out, when you find another home, you're doing the inspection all over again. So if the inspection turns to something that you think you can handle, or if it's an electrical issue, for example, my dad's an electrician. I'm probably not going to stress too much over the electrical issue. I am going to have him look into it, give me his assessment on what it's going to cost to repair it. But that might not be a deal breaker for me. So it's having the concept and having the knowledge of knowing what are things that are deal breakers for you and things that are not going to be deal breakers for you. And then you also have an appraisal cost. So here in Louisville, our contract has a clause in it that if you are getting money from a lender, like actual financing, you're not paying for this in cash, the home must appraise for the value or better. And what I mean by this is, say for instance, the house you're looking at is $225,000. That house must appraise or have an assessed value of $225,000 or greater in order for you to continue with the loan. Now, the appraisal is something that you pay for. You pay for this before you actually get the keys, because the lender is not going to give funds for a home that is not worth the amount of money that they're putting out. So like that $225,000 home, if it appraises for $215,000, well, now we got to go back to the negotiation table, because my lender is not going to give me $225,000 for a house that's only worth $215,000. Okay, so that is something you pay for. And once again, if you back out of this deal, or you decide you don't want this house anymore and you move on to another house, these are all fees that will come back up again. So in preparing for your home, not only will you need down payment, you're also going to need your inspection costs and your appraisal cost. And then we have the final cost prior to you getting your keys, which are your closing costs. Okay, now, and actually, let me take a step back, because if you're getting land, or if the boundary of the property is a little unclear, then you may find yourself getting a survey as well. And a survey is, because we as realtors, I can go to the PVA, property valuation, and I can see roughly what the assessed value is. I can get the dimensions of the lot. I can even go into another site and see the outline of the map to see what that lot looks like. However, as things change and properties have been reassessed, that may not be 100% accurate. So if you're looking at a large lot of land, like say if you're looking at 10 acres, you want to make sure that you're really getting 10 acres, because the price you're paying is typically in accommodation to the amount of acreage that you're getting. Like you're paying a certain amount per acre or a certain amount per square foot. So if you're getting 8 acres versus 10, well, that's not what this is. Like, we need to come to the table and talk about this. So in addition to inspection and appraisals costs, you may be looking at a survey cost. And that's up to you if that's something you want to do or don't want to do. But the things that are kind of not going to be, the one thing that is not going to be optional is the appraisal if you are getting financing. Okay. Now, on to closing costs. The last cost that you're going to run into. Closing costs consist of the cost to do the loan itself. You're going to have some prepaid taxes in there and prepaid insurance in there.